If you have ever watched esports, one topic is always hotly debated in the comments. People are calling it out every time a player isn't performing, and it's the simple question: is the player too old to play at tier 1 level? There are many reasons why people would call this out. It can be because of the stats, the way he plays, and many more factors that just simply everyone says the player should leave the team, go down either to tier 2 or do something else like become a coach. And well, we want to see, are there any other factors that contribute to this discussion? And let's see if we can answer the question if at one point you're just too old to play in tier 1 sports. And with that said, guys, don't forget about the giveaway in the description down below. And now a quick word from our sponsor. This video is sponsored by SkinBaron, the ultimate marketplace for buying and selling your CS skins. SkinBaron is a German company with an excellent Trustpilot rating, trusted by thousands of players. Save up to 30% compared to the Steam market with over 1 billion skins and easy to use filters. Finding your perfect skin is a breeze. They offer multiple payment methods including credit card, Klarna and even more. And if you're selling a skin worth over €1,000, you'll only pay 2% fees on it. Use my code Shifterz to support the channel and start your SkinBaron journey today. Thank you, SkinBaron, and now back to the video. I'm gonna put 3 players up on screen. Can you guess what they have in common? And it's not their stats, not the roles they play, it's the age. All of these players are at least 30 years old or older. And well, if you compared on how they played a couple of years ago, I would say during their prime, all of these players experienced a significant drop-off in their own personal ways. And while some players like Dupree, GetRight, Kenny S retired and left the professional scene behind to pursue other stuff, other players decide to stick around and keep going, even though many of us say it's over for them. The glory days are gone. It's basically just sad to see them play like this. And yes, I know these are exaggerated words. And the first thing that gets thrown out in the comments, in the live chat, is that they are just too old, the reaction times have decreased, and because of that, they cannot hit the shots like they used to. And for this, we're taking a look at this first study, which was released on the 10th of April in 2022. And here it says, the results showed that both processing speeds and memory declined with age. The data showed that the reaction time performance degraded by an average of 3 to 6 milliseconds per year. And an older PBS study showed that the brain's reaction time peaks at the age of 24 and after that starts to degrade. And well, if we take the average of the first study on how many milliseconds someone degrades in their reaction time, which would be 4.5 milliseconds, and we multiply it by 6, so we reach the age of 30, we have already lost an average of 27 milliseconds. And while that doesn't sound like a lot, in a competitive environment, every millisecond counts, and this could be the factor that could win you those crucial rounds. But here's an interesting thing. A newer study that came a couple of months later from the first one found out that the brain itself is deteriorating and losing its ability to process information. This factor starts at the age of 80 actually. However, they concluded that older adults' slower response time can be attributed to the changes in their ability to process stimuli and prepare movements, which basically means the nervous system is the one that is slowly starting to degrade over time. And this can be seen in this study. Aging changes the nervous system, which affects movement, senses, thoughts, and memories. And well, another very simple factor that people often forget in this discussion is that the game is different compared to a couple of years ago. CSGO is a fundamentally different game on how it's played compared to CS2. While CS2 still retains its structural complexity on how everything is executed, just like in the older games, there is one factor that was completely changed, and over the years we have seen it. And it's that simply CS2 benefits from aggressive playstyle, and people like Donk have shown how it's done. And I think Apex was a good example during that dominant era that Vitality had at the beginning of the year. He played very aggressively and it looked like he couldn't miss a shot. He was calling good, he was feeding the game, and it was working. And his example is interesting because he is over 30 years old compared to the other ones that I mentioned at the beginning, and it all goes down to the factor he was able to adapt better than the other ones to how CS has changed. And that is, I would say, also also a fundamental reason why we see players that were great back then in CSGO simply weren't able to get the footing in the new game and are still somehow struggling with integrating how they play into the mechanics of CS2 and all of the inner workings. And combine that with the data that I have found from the research, it will naturally become harder to keep up with the pace, keep up with the aggressive style of CS, while your body is slowly degenerating. And to answer the final question, at what point should a player step away from playing in tier 1 events and move on to something different? And I think my answer would be somewhere in the mid-30s. At that point, the body, when we look at the numbers, with the increase of the reaction time that we've discussed in the first half of the video, at that point, 35, you have reached a point where you have over 50 milliseconds of delay, which is not a lot. However, compare that to a player in his prime, you will feel the effects of your age. And at that point, maybe becoming a coach or something in the background of a CS team might be very helpful to that team, because you have a lot of knowledge that can be given to the next generation of players. And with that said, guys, let me know down in the comments below, what's your take on this? When is a player, in your opinion, too old to play? Let me know. And as always, don't forget about a giveaway in the description down below and on Discord. And as always, don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell for more content like this.